FM 92.7, we're talking mid-year budget review. Nelson Kuja is a tax expert and he's in the studio. I know he has to take leave of us very quickly. So let me take your final thoughts for what it is that you're expecting today, whatever key highlights it is that you're expecting to hear, and then we can wrap up with you.
Thank you very much. As an economy, we have made so much gains from the beginning of the year till today. Inflation has moderated 13.7%. We have enjoyed relative stability of the Ghanaian cedi. We have built enough reserve to support the international business community. Our sovereign ratings has also, gone up, currently at B-, even though not really good, but it's an improvement. Investor confidence, no matter how you look at it, has also gone up. And so my expectation is that the finance minister will tell us what measures they are putting in place in order to consolidate, all the gains that we have made. And also where there are some structural deformities, what measures they are putting in place to correct, those deformities. I also expect the 24-hour economy plus policy to feature hugely in the budget. In fact, the president made mention of the fact that he's looking at 1.7 million decent and quality jobs to be created as a result of the implementation of the 24-hour economy plus policy. And so we want to see some highlight regarding the implementation plan. The government wants to commit $300 million as seed capital for the implementation, which to me may not be sufficient, looking at how ambitious the whole project is. And so on overall, we want to see stability not only for this year, but stability for next year and the subsequent years. And also, we also want the government to continue with the fiscal consolidation measure. In fact, it has actually worked. The prudent, effective, and efficient, expenditure management has actually worked. I was surprised when my big brother said that presidential staffers are not even up to 100. What did you mention? President.
Is it even 50? I don't even know if it will get up to that.
50.
Yeah.
So that means that this government is actually lean. The government is actually efficient. My only recommendation is that the savings that will be making from the DSTV's subscription, fuel allowances, and the rest, I think that money should be destinated to satisfy the recurrent expenditure of the various senior high schools. You see, education is very expensive, even at the individual level. Very expensive. Get Fund, the enabling act of the Get Fund is supposed to champion infrastructure development of all schools in Ghana. And so once you have a dedicated source of funding for a particular project or policy, then it makes the implementation very easy. In fact, in 2022, I went to Sunyani. I will not mention a secondary school. And I was with the headmaster when the headmaster called another school that, I have sugar, but we need oil for our afternoon, cooking. Then I was surprised that, is that the kind of butter you people do in the system? I say, yes. Sometimes you have this, you have to call your colleague headmaster to ask if it's so that you can swap. But since this government came to power, we haven't heard of shortage of food, those things in the secondary schools. But I think the savings that they'll be making from the DSTV and all those, in which the economic advisor to the vice president said will be around 121 million cedis a year, I think that fund should be destinated to satisfy the recurrent expenditure of the secondary school, so that can be taken off, government head. So on generally, I think that we expect the finance minister to give assurance to the business community, to give assurance to investors, and to give assurance to all Ghanaians that yes, the economy is on track and they are managing the economy efficiently and effectively.
Thank you so much for your time this morning. Nelson Kuju Kwagbeji is a finance and tax expert and head of finance at Melbourne Capital Limited. And you've been very insightful this morning. Thank you for lending your voice to the discussion. I want to pick the thoughts of Honorable very quickly again on this one Ghana cedi levy on the fuel. Now, there was some critique about how it was passed. Because of what one would say was a lack of sufficient consultation. That was a critique that came government's way. Subsequently, we saw that some adjustments were made to also reflect what was going on the global stage. You recall Israel and Iran and US, they had some fracas going on, and it was paused, eventually reinstated. Now, there have been a lot of talk about the inefficiencies in the energy space and how that has been compounded, over time. And many are of the view, I've been testing the polls, that we shouldn't have to pay for these inefficiencies. Yes, we know that we've got to buy the fuel, and the legacy debts are really choking us. We have to do something. But what really is going to be done long term to address this particular issue long term wise? I think a lot of people wanted to know, are we going to continuously have to bear the brunt of inefficiencies? I mean, so many problems in the energy sector.
Yes, I think, you see, and I like the way you put it. Are we going to bear the brunt of the inefficiencies? And if that is so, how long can we continue to burden people who are paying? Remember, the ordinary consumer like you and I, my brother, we pay. We buy prepaid, so we pay. We don't owe anything. Is that not it?
That's right.
Now we have what we call the technical losses and the commercial losses in the energy sector. The commercial losses are simply because the targeted revenue that ECG and other power producers are supposed to, and they do not get that amount. Some of them leak through some holes, and recent reports have really indicated that one, ECG is having some huge debt. We don't know how it is coming from. You saw the report, the Auditor General report. Before the Auditor General, the entire energy sector owned over 81 billion Ghana cedis. ECG alone owns over 60 billion cedis. Can you imagine? Who created that debt? You remember, because of the non-payment of monies to independent power producers, the cash for water mechanism was brought by the NDC. We introduced before they took over. When they took over this cash for water, they completely moved away from the agreement as that when they have to pay, when they collect the money. At one time, the former government collected over 40 million. They ended up paying just 10 million. The 30 million fizzled out. That was in 2024. So even the laid down rules and regulations to pay the power producers was completely thrown away. The money used frivolously. Do you remember when they were spending about 50 million Ghana cedis at the presidency buying car tires, car tires? You remember those things? I can enumerate about 15 of them. That was how these waste and the monies were used. And when you do that, then you turn around and then you say, yeah, the consumers who are already paying should look at expenditures like this. 50 million spent on car tires and batteries only in 9 months. 59 million spent on operational enhancement of the president in only 9 months. That's the taxpayers' money. 51 million spent on fuel bills at the presidency in 9 months. 51 million. Look, when you do that, then you leave. I can go on, but that's not what for the discussion. I only cited there are many.
Right.
I'm citing this for you to know how the taxpayer has been overburdened, and that is why we want to move out from frivolous expenditures, wasteful expenditures, monies that do not go to enhance capital investment. We are talking about the dollar stability. The dollar would only stabilize when you invest in capital projects that can pay themselves off. The dollar will stabilize when export derived, which we are going to do through, through the 24-hour economy. That is where we are going. For instance, look at our import bill. Import bill for tin tomato, $1 billion.
$1 billion?
$1 billion. Can you imagine? Rice, $800 million. Sugar and confectionery, $300 million. Flour, yes. Yes, I was saying it. $600 million. Poultry alone. So when we are able to roll, I can go on and on and on. When we are able to reduce, that's how your dollar can really maintain its stability. Now the 1 cedi at the pump, in order to, in fact, that money is going to be ring-fenced to be used for fuel, even just the fuel. not to work on the technical losses. Technical losses means that we have obsolete machinery and the transmission lines. As you transmit, power get lost and so on. There's theft and so on. That leads to sometimes the trip. These days they call it the power trip because of these things and so on when they are loaded. Over time, we haven't retooled this. Remember when we were in Power, because of the way we govern the energy sector, when we're leaving, ECG made profit, and Northern Electricity, Greco made profit. Then again, when you go, we left ESLA.
That's right.
For us to be able to use to arrest the hemorrhaging energy sector debt in order to end it. It even had clauses that would end. They came and extended it to 2035 using the money, and they did not even pay the power producers. When you do this and a new government takes over, and I think what consumers would rather want to have a stable and an efficient power, especially those in business, so that they can have their businesses run without power, unnecessary power interruptions and so on.
Right.
So the initial implementation of the policy was fraught with challenges. It was stayed so that we could do better engagement, and we gave it a time that it would take off on 1st July, and that indeed has done. I think what consumer want now is that accountability.
Indeed. After
the year, after every 3 months, can the finance minister or the energy minister come and brief the people of this government? You've collected, let's take it 100 million from that. What did you use it for? Did you use it in buying for? Let's see. Once we do that, we are building confidence in the people, and we are carrying them along. If you don't carry beneficiaries of policy, public policy along, there's always a gap, a lacuna. That gap is where fake news come in, and merchants of fake news would take advantage of it and destroy whatever policies that you have. So for me, it is not an easy thing for a new government to start talk. After this one, you are not going to get tax. We are not going to bring. There won't be any new tax in this. And let me cite some of this wasteful expenditure. The total cost that we are looking at the cathedral is now almost 100 million.
So at what, 97 million we're told?
Million. Let me ask you a question. Do you know how much the Opokuase interchange cost?
Some 94 million
94 million. So that's a Opokuase interchange lying down there in the hole, with even a balance of $3 million that you can use it to support people at the dialysis who are dying. $3 million.
Honorable, I want to explore this further. Let me just pause you very briefly so that I can engage Dr. George Domfeh. He's been waiting on the line for a little bit, and then we'll come back because the issue of wastage is a big one.
It's a big
and in fact, when it comes
to
auditor's
report,
accountability,
let's even put everything. Just take Ghana, the Ghana government owns the auditor's report, and go through and see whether you would not this morning bow your head in shame. Look at every institution has been run down. The question at the end of the day, because you're a media man, ask this question. Do we really think that state institutions run at a loss? I do not think so, because managers of state institutions, they live like Arabian kings. While the state institution is collapsing, their lifestyles continue to flourish. You cannot run a state institution down that's supposed to employ young people and make profit, while you yourself, your take home, as we've seen, 40,000 a week. And you turn around and tell me that state institution is run at a loss. Do we genuinely think that state institutions run at a loss? The answer is no, because the lifestyle of the managers does not support that theory. It means that we have to reset the institutions to give us what has taxpayers' money. If we pour money into ECG, name them, into GMPC, into GHOC, it's our mandate, so we expect returns.
We'll come back and put some more flesh on the bones in that regard. But let me say good morning and a very warm welcome to Dr. George Domfeh. He's a development economist at the University of Ghana. Doc, hello, good morning to you.
Good morning, Manchester.
Thank you so much for joining us on the program. Hope you're well.
By His grace, everything is well with me.
Now, let's get stuck straight into it. And I'd like to pick your thoughts on this mid-year budget review coming up very shortly. To start off with, what are your major expectations ahead of this morning's review?
Let me thank you as well for this opportunity, and let me say very good morning to viewers and listeners. My expectation, as usual, is that the finance minister is going to tell Ghana how well they have managed the economy. Because now, if you look at inflation, they inherited an inflation hovering around 23%. Today, it dropped to 13.5 or 7.
13.7%.
Yeah. Again, they inherited $1 to 1 cedi at 14 cedis 70 pesos. Today, $1 is 10 cedis 40 pesos. And so definitely it's going to brag how they have managed the economy. Again, not so long ago, one of the credit rating agencies, was it Fitch also, came out to push us from 60 plus to B minus with a stable outlook. And so I'm sure today it's all going to be, I told you, give the steer to me and I could drive well, and now this is where I've been able to push the economy to. I think those are the things we are going to hear.
All right. So certainly a recapping of some of the macroeconomic indicators that you say have seen a bit of a turnaround. We're seeing the figures going in the right direction. At least, but from where you sit, how sustainable is Ghana's recent GDP growth given softening investments and structural challenges?
Yeah, talking about the growth, it is sustainable. We all know if you go back to 2017 all through, the economy was actually growing well, especially before the COVID. And even after the COVID, we saw the economy growing at 5.4% in the year 2021. But 2022, when the global economic turmoil set in and it affected us, inflation, we recorded inflation the highest in 27 years at the end of 2022, December, even though at the beginning, inflation hovered around 13.9. And the fact is that since January 2017, inflation has been kept below 15%, and so inflation was never a problem for 61 months of the previous government. Exchange rate had hovered, had stagnated between 4 cedis to 8 cedis, 4 cedis to 5 cedis, 80 pesos. And if you look back to our economic history, one of the best periods we saw cedi doing very well was the first 61 months of the previous government's administration. But what happened? The year 2020, at the beginning of the year, we had 9.9 billion reserves to protect the cedi. But in the middle of the year, when we had almost, Bank of Ghana had almost spent all the dollars, cedi was exposed. So by August, $1 was going for 8 cedis, 20 pesos. By October, it moved to 15 cedis interbank exchange rate, and then the forest, it went as far as 17 cedis. And people really suffered. But it was during this time that we decided as a country to go to IMF. And so we started negotiating with them right away. And in 2023, we needed to do some amendments to our revenue generation. And we introduced 3 revenue amendment bills based upon all these IMF accepted us. And after they accepted us, they immediately asked us to reduce our expenditure. Yeah, but our listeners, we have to know that of the 17 times that we have gone to IMF, they always told us what we should do. This time around, we rather told them what we wanted to do. So we put together a document. I think Ken Domfeh was then the finance minister. He led the team to put together what they call PCPEG, whose COVID economy program for growth. And when they did, IMF accepted it. And they said that year we would grow 1.5%. Indeed, 2023, the economy defied the expectation of an IMF, and it grew 2.9%. The following year, 2024, IMF again said we will grow 4%, but we ended up growing 5.7%. And this is to suggest that the current growth that we are seeing is because of the PCPEG, because the new government continued with the program, and so the PCPEG is currently what is being implemented, and it is working very well.
So you credit the prior administration with the growth of what we're seeing. That's who you credit.
Exactly.
The
so that
growth.
Is why the growth. I'm just trying to say that looking at where the growth picked from 2003 2024, there is no doubt that this year the economy will not grow well because we are using the same PC peg. We haven't changed it, and this government is doing very well with implementation of the PC peg. I mean, recently when an IMF officials came, they were very happy with the way, apart from few red flags that they raised, they are generally very happy with the way that we are implementing the PC peg. And so I think that the growth that we are experiencing is sustainable. We are even going to do better by the end of the year.
Beyond this PC peg, how do you rate this government's efforts at fiscal prudence? Look at the cut down in the various sectors, the cut down in the number of ministers in the office of the presidency. Quite staggering cuts have been made. You look at measures such as a reduction of fuel coupons, some of the luxuries that you would find in state corporations, DSTV and the like. How far would you say that these measures have gone in improving our macroeconomic indicators?
Yeah, those measures are very excellent if the president says that nobody is going to enjoy fuel coupon and all those things that I've heard. They are all very, very important and very good. That is to suggest that they also want to join us to all embrace whatever bad time that we are having so that in the good time we all enjoy. I think that is very excellent move from the president. But as an economist, I don't look at those things because most often they say those things and at the end of the day, you don't see it. In fact, President Mahama himself, when he was president, once talked about cutting down salaries of workers. Eventually, when the figures came, we didn't see those cuts in the figures. And so most of the time, you hear some of these things and you may not see it happening. But as an economist, I would want to look at the budget, what they told us. Indeed, 2024, Nana Akufo-Addo's government spent on commitment basis because now IMF is restricting us to not to talk about cash basis, but to talk about commitment basis. On commitment basis, Nana Akufo-Addo government spent 279 billion Ghana cedis. And this government said that they were going to reduce it, indeed, to 270.9. And so that means that we were going to save over 8 billion. But these were projections. We can only see it happen at the end of the year. If at the end of the year we are able to save 8 billion, I think I will plan for them. But I don't see it happening. Because, for example, before the year, we didn't have or at the time they presented a budget and told us that we're going to spend 270.9 billion on commitment basis. At that time, there was nothing like D-levy. And now I do know that the D-levy is going to rake in more resources. And those
when you say there was nothing like D-levy, you know that this is not a new tax handle, if you will. It's just been increased. So you mean we didn't know there was going to be an increment in that existing tax handle?
Yeah, so let's look at it. If you say tax handle, if you pick petroleum taxes, we have so many of them. So this component, this D-levy, has been introduced. It has been added on to the various components that we have, and so it's like it's a basket. And in the basket, we have so many items in the basket. A new item that was never there has been introduced.
Right.
So that's how it is. And so we have so many petroleum taxes. In fact, when we deregulated the market, the petroleum sector in the year 2006, the Kunkofo introduced 5 taxes, and later when NDC came, they pushed the 5 taxes to 8, including the ESLA. That's how they introduced the ESLA. So ESLA was something new, it wasn't there, but it was added on to the 5 that the Kunkofo government introduced. Now, Mahama, getting to the end of 2016, took out 2 and worked with only 6 taxes. Akufo-Addo came and in his first year, he dropped excise tax on petroleum and worked with only 5 during his first term. But second term, he introduced 2 more levies to make it 7. And so this de-levy coming is an addition. It's not the existing rate that is being an increase. It is an addition that is being introduced to that particular set of tax. So, that's an explanation there. So, with the de-levy coming and with the inflows, definitely you're going to spend, for which reason I expect that today the finance minister is going to tell us that the commitment basis that the money he said he would spend on commitment basis at 270.9 billion would likely go up definitely. And so the whole thing is not so much about I have reduced the number of ministers. It's about, at the end of the day, how much did you spend? Because now, if you did that, they have rationalized expenditure. And so some areas where the previous government wasn't spending so much, today they are spending so much. For example, education. They have allocated a whopping 78 million Ghana cedis. And compared to the previous government, they were not doing even up to 4 million. And it has gone up, but they will tell you that it is now covering so many things than the previous government did. But whatever that it is, every government has their priorities, and if they think that communication is what will help them to get to where they want to push the country to, I don't have a problem with it. But I would have wished that at the end of the day, government says, I've cut this, it will be reflected in the total expenditure. And so if at the end of the day, and Akufo-Addo spent 270 billion, 79 billion, and this government also spends the same amount or more, and we don't see so much happening, then I would have, said that the cut hasn't reflected, the life. I'm talking about the luxury, the comfort that we want ordinary Ghanaians to have.
And Doc, my final question for the morning. What macroeconomic risks, that's both domestic and international, demand urgent attention, would you say, and should be captured in this budget cycle?
Sorry, you're well.
Oh, apologies. Can you hear me better now?
Yeah, I think it's better.
Yes. I was going to ask my final question about if there are any macroeconomic risks, both domestic or international, that you think demand urgent attention.
Yeah, so the risk I see is the exchange rate. We all know until 1983, April, Ghana, we were doing fixed exchange rate regime. That was what we were doing. And then as soon as we started the Bretton Woods institutions economic reform, economic recovery program, and structural adjustment program, we move on to the mixture that is floating and managed. When we say floating and managed exchange rate system, that is where periodically Bank of Ghana will come out to supply, to intervene, to protect the city. Why the demand, the forces of demand and supply for foreign currencies would always take the lead to determine how much cedis should be exchanged for the foreign currencies. And so that has been the practice. Indeed, the year 2007, we deepened it. We deepened it through the inflation targeting. We deepened this agenda to create our foreign, our city to, as it were, fight the other foreign currencies. And when I say fight, it is to say that the value of the city will be more dependent on the demand and supply of the foreign currencies. Recently, we have seen cocoa doing very well in the international market. Commodity prices, cocoa, gold, and recently there was a huge inflow, $1.6 billion that came to Ghana through cocoa. And so Bank of Ghana's reserves is doing very well, going up through cocoa and all those things. And because of the secondary forest, the inflows of foreign currency to the secondary forest has been very encouraging. And I didn't expect the Bank of Ghana to intervene the way they did. April alone, they supplied $490 million. May, $25.5 million. As soon as they did, $1 that hovered around 4 cedis 90 pesos drop at the end of May to 10 cities. And this is so artificial because for how long can you sustain this? And now you see, when some of us came out to talk about it on TV3 key point, I talked about this. That's not a good move for the governor to do. But some people said, no, the governor wasn't even intervening. They were not doing anything until recently, and the IMF came to say that, no, that's not true. They are the intervention has gone way overboard. Now, what are we saying? Today, because the bank couldn't supply as much as they did in May and April, their rate is 10 cedis, 10.4 to $1. But if you go to the banks, you don't get the dollar you want. And so people have been going to the Awotiirim market, and Awotiirim has now become the main determinant, of the dollar rate. And now it is hovering around 12 cities, 80 pesos to 13 cities. That is what is happening. And so if you do that, then we are going back to 1983, where the government will come out under the Swiss exchange rate regime to tell us that this is the rate, and in reality, you go to the banks, you don't get dollars, and the black market became the main, avenue where people could get foreign currencies. If you do that, then you are giving the economy to the black market, and that's not the way to go. And so I think that it's time Bank of Ghana came up boldly to tell the people that this is what I did, I'm not going to do that again, and let's allow the dollar to take its own value. Of course, Bank of Ghana's intervention is very essential within that framework of a floating exchange rate, managed floating exchange rate regime. So their intervention is essential. But coming out to pump 490 million a month is something that I think it was very unnecessary. And so they should come out, tell people, and be able to raise the rate from 10.4 as it is now to the realistic rate, about 13 or whatever that it has to be. Because until recently, we never heard that I'm going to bank, I'm looking for dollar that I didn't get it. But if we want to bring this, something that we have dealt with years ago, decades ago, if we want to bring it back, then it means that we have sending the economy backwards. We don't want to move forward. And so that is a potential risk. What the Bank of Ghana, the way they are managing the exchange rate, it becomes too political. And I think the previous governor did very well. He stood on his grounds. I remember last year when people were pushing him to supply, he came out to say that I can bring CD to dollar 10 to $1. I can
in fact, Doc, that assertion by yourself, I think could be very heavily contested. But of course, we won't go in that direction. But thank you so much for your thoughts.
What is it? What is it that could be contested?
No,
please?
I'm just saying, in testing the pulse, when you make that assertion, I say that there are other views or schools of thought when it comes to the management.
Which of them? When I said that the old governor stood on his grounds and didn't supply.
Yes.
No, but there was so much dollar. So this is fact. You can't contest fact. They had 9 billion in the reserves, and the fact that he could supply and he didn't supply, and CD kept around 14, tells you that these are facts. You can't contest these things. These are facts. Please.
All right, Doc. Again, thank you so much for your time this morning and for your contribution to the conversation. We've been speaking with Dr. George Domfeh, development economist at the University of Ghana. Some interesting thoughts there as we look forward to the mid-year budget review. I'm still in the studio. I've got Honorable here. I've also got Samson Awingobit. I know you've got to go to our sister station also soon, so I'll let you have your final bite.
If you have not called this man, it would have been helpful.
No. We're platforming a myriad of views.
The expert who left here had raised relevant issues and has cautioned government where to do, how to maximize, how to expand target, how to continue with the fiscal discipline. The gentleman says that Dr. Domfeh says that the previous governor of Bank of Ghana had the dollars. What rate were we trading? A previous government that tightened the prime rate of the Bank of Ghana, the monetary rate. You remember, Helen? And move it to as far as 28, right? Prime rate. and said he was doing it in the name of inflation. Remember? And inflation went as far as 54.
2022.
This is the Bank of Ghana, the governor of Bank of Ghana. You come to tout.
In fact, I didn't want to open this can of worms because I know the opinions are many.
He left the office and interest rate for commercial banks is hovering at 40%. Is that the one is that the one that he's talking about? When the governor of Bank of Ghana at the time, who was running away, that he's in charge of monetary rate and somebody's in charge of fiscal rate. Yet monetary rate sent us interest rate at 40%. He said it was inflation. We should go to the Minister of Finance. Do you think when Ataboadey came and Dr. Eshiama came and Sami Gemfi came, if these people had not put up their heads together and worked together, would have brought it? The governor of Bank of Ghana, he's touting today, left us at 14 cedi to $1. Today we are talking 10.3, and you said what? You said it's about politics? This is reality. Indeed, the ordinary citizen out there go to the market, they themselves, market women take a product and say, this used to Helen, but you saw it on social media. As far as even Bono region and other region, Asante region, you saw when President Mama went to Kumasi, the market women, you saw what they said. You pick a product and say, this used to cost me 60 cedis. Today this cost me 25, 40 cedis. There have been service. And you said what? I don't know. You see, some of these are the people that I remember there was 2023 or 2024 that I went to Parliament, Channel 1 or CCTV at the time, and I asked, some of these people who say they have doctors, I don't know where they got their doctors from. Because this is a reality. This is a reality that you should tell us what was the rate that the previous government left us. If dollars were there, why would dollars was hovering around, $1 was hovering around as far as 20 Ghana cedis? You remember? Dollar went as far as 16 cedis to 20 cedis. Yeah. And so you said, and you said dollars were there. This is the governor of Bank of Ghana who introduced the gold for oil. You remember?
I recall.
Yes, it was a baby.
We're told it was a two-pronged approach. It was gold and cash for oil.
And you know the recent report, how much we lost from the gold for oil? Huh? You just saw the report. And there was an intermediary. They were not using the gold to buy straight the oil.
Of course.
There was someone in the middle. So they could take the gold, go and sell, take his profit, and then sell and then buy. What policy is that, my sister?
Of course, yes.
What was that policy for?
We're told gold and cash for oil.
So, for instance, if you had the oil, instead of me to bring the gold straight to you, we look at the value, you give me the oil and I give you my gold. No, there was a middleman who would take the money, the gold, sell it, change it into dollars.
So there was that like barter trade.
Yes.
You remember
and then go and pay dollars. What sort of thing? Have you seen the recent report about we losing $2 billion from the gold for oil trade? What policy was that? What is Dr. Domfeh talking about?
The scenario the financial expert just left here and said. He said he went to a school, and the school said, I have sugar, but I need another commodity. I have to call my sister's school, another sister's school, the headmasters or the headmistress, and say, I have this. If you have this, give and take. That's barter trade.
Yeah.
So we were told that we were going to use gold to buy oil for us. Is that not it?
Indeed.
I don't know. There was a metal person. Do you know the profit that metal person has made? Do you know how COVID levy, when COVID came, do you know how much the gentleman they brought to airport here, the Nigerian guy, you know how
you
much,
mean for the testing, the COVID testing?
They were taking
hundreds of millions of dollars.
They have made somebody overreach.
Yes.
Do you know that the previous government were rather abolish aviation fuel, VAT on aviation fuel? Remember, ask yourself, Helen, how many ordinary, even your own station here, TV3 here or 3FM here, how many of your staff can go to Kumasi and afford to jump plane to Kumasi or Tamale or even go to Dubai or USA? But aviation fuel, this that his government that is touting was abolished.
His government, he joined us as a development economist from the University of Ghana.
His government, don't mind him. The government that is touting abolish VAT on real estate. How many ordinary citizens in this country, in your studio here, you have your staff, your producer here, can they afford to buy a real estate? It's the rich people. The luxury tax that they brought, they abolished it because they were having a luxury tax. In fact, you know why they couldn't collect the property tax? Because if you go to Cantonment, Labone, Airport, Ring area, analysis, the kind of building that you see, the commercialized building that you see there, belong to them, those people. So when they say tax themselves, when someone say ping yourself before you ping me, they were not ready to ping themselves. So
ping yourself before you ping me.
Yes. So they were rather taxing the ordinary and living in a luxury life. That's the kind of luxury life that John Mama said, no. If you are a minister, buy your own DSTV. We need to applaud him for that. If
Samson, thank you for
buy
this.
your own fuel. We need to apply for that. If you're a minister, please, you are there to serve. You are not there to lord. These guys were lording over us.
And now people say it's not even attractive to get into government. They say they won't even find anything there. But Samson, thank you so much for your time this morning. Let me go on a very quick break. When we come back, we'll still be chatting in studio. This is still 3FM Sunrise on 3FM 92.7.
Greetings in the name of His Majesty Emperor